All right. So again, I just want to welcome everybody to our session this evening. To introduce myself, my name is Amy Pernick. I'm the Director of Admissions at Gesher Jewish Day School. I'm joined by several other members of our school leadership team, and our special host for this evening is Rabbi Sachs of Temple Road of Shalom. Thank you so much for having us. Thank you, Rini, for helping us spread the word about this event. As I have said, we have heard so many wonderful things about the program that you guys are running and how happy your families are. And really, we just want to give your families the opportunity to continue and build on the foundation that you have laid for them. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started. As I'm loading the slides, Jody, Aviva, and Jen, do you want to take turns introducing yourself?
Great. Let me start since I'm the one unmuted at the moment. I'm Aviva Walls. I'm the head of school. I actually recently started my journey at Gesher. I started in July, and this is the 1-year anniversary of my introduction to the Gesher community. I was at Gesher 1 year ago exactly for my interview. So it feels like a momentous occasion to be sharing with all of you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jody Hirschreen. I have been at Gesher for 7 years, and I was super excited that Aviva came and joined us on the leadership team. So I'll welcome you in this crowd. I didn't realize it was your 1-year anniversary. I also am a mom at Gesher. I have a current 5th grader and a current 3rd grader. So I'll just share that as well as I'm the principal.
And hi, I'm Jen Schur. I'm the Director of Community Advancement, and I work with admissions and our community partners and really like the outward-facing components of Gesher and integrating into the greater community at large. So we're really, really excited that you're all here and building a partnership with us. So I've been at Gesher professionally for 6 years, as a mom for 7 years, and it's great to see you all here.
Also mention that Jen is also the mom of a current 1st grader. So she is probably the one who is closest to being able to share the real on the ground experience as it's currently happening through her youngest daughter, Dina's eyes. All right, so again, I just want to thank everybody for being here, and I want to turn the program over to Rabbi Sachs to just welcome everybody and share a little bit about his journey to Gesher and what he sees in our communities that is so similar and complementary. So Rabbi Sachs, please take it away.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Amy. Thanks to all the Gesher staff. It's a pleasure for me to, I guess, to host, to officially kind of bring these Temple Road of Shalom families into conversation with Gesher. And also thank you, Rini, for this opportunity and for doing this. I have 3 kids who, of course, are at the temple. Shoshana is 10 now; she's almost 11, and Aaron and Jonah are twin 4th graders. And so all of them were actually taught by Rini when she was a teacher before she became the director of the preschool, and then. They all began at Gesher and spent 1 year when my boys were in kindergarten and Shoshana was in 1st grade, for just an amazing first year of education. And it just happened, some circumstances in our family. They ended up going to Haycock, largely because we had just moved a couple of blocks away, and we just couldn't give up the opportunity to have them there at Haycock, so close and next door to the temple where I was working. And Haycock has been fine and great, no problems. But I will say that Jamie and I were really kind of surprised that over the years, our kids would say to us, we miss being at Gesher. Gesher was more fun. And it really was an incredible learning environment, nurturing and amazing to have the same values and the same traditions that we teach them at home and at Temple Road of Shalom reinforced at the school. And there just really is nothing like it. And so this last year, many circumstances led us to have the kids back there, and it's just been an amazing thing. This isn't really the topic of this session, but Gesher has done an incredible job bringing the kids education in person during the pandemic. But my kids are so happy to be back there for all the reasons that I mentioned, that we do plan on sticking with that even when the pandemic is over, because they're having a great experience. So I think it's really important to consider and give the opportunity to whether this would be right for others at the temple, and I'm glad that you all came on to hear more about it. I'm happy to answer questions or have more conversation, but I think you all really want to hear from the Gesher staff, and so we'll turn it over and ask them to share with us what they can offer.
All right, thank you so much, Rabbi Sachs. So I want to start by really focusing on, again, the great work that Rini and her team have done at Temple Road of Shalom Early Childhood Center. There is just so many wonderful things that are going on. The word on the street is that it is, an outstanding place for children to sort of begin their academic journey. And some of the things that you have really come to appreciate about RODEF's program is the broad-based curriculum, the inclusiveness of play, recess, it being really a child-led program focusing on developmental readiness, cognitive, social, emotional, self-regulatory, and academic foundational skills. In this environment, children are encouraged to be creative and learn through inquiry. And that is really a tried and true method of creating lifelong love of learning. And really, it dovetails so beautifully with everything that we are doing at Gesher. So at Gesher, we build on the solid academic foundation and the joyful Jewish foundation that was established at RODEF. And then promote growth from there. So we really work hard to meet every child where they are, to promote social, academic, emotional growth, and help children to develop their own identities as Jewish children and eventually as young Jewish adults, as well as providing a warm and welcoming, smaller, close-knit community for the families, which I think is so important. I've heard several parents that I've talked to over the past few weeks talk about what a welcoming community the RODEF ECC program has been, and how they love getting to speak to all the parents. And that's really something that we take a lot of pride in at Gesher as well. So that's just a little bit about our programs. And I want to go ahead and turn it over to Aviva Walls, our head of school, who's going to talk a little bit about why Gesher.
Thanks, Amy. So there's a business thinker named Simon Sinek, who I really enjoy for a lot of reasons. But he became famous a number of years ago with a TED Talk where he talked about start from why. And it has gotten us talking a lot about why Gesher? Why does Gesher exist? What is its, what do we believe about children? What do we believe about education? And what has become really clear to me very quickly is that Gesher believes in that same joyful Jewish experience, that we believe in cultivating learners and leaders through a strong sense of belonging in a diverse community. And that is who the core of who we are. There's so many things I love about the Gesher community, but one of the biggest things is it was really hard this year with not having parents in the building and trying to get a sense of how we could include people in our community given the restrictions. And so carpool is something that I do every day, almost every day, Monday afternoons on my break. But greeting every child by name in the morning and afternoon, where they are dropped off by the bus or by carpool, getting to know families and siblings. I know several 2-year-olds by name. We have little conversations in the car while they're headed to preschool as well. And that is really a symbol of who Gesher is. You aren't just sending your children to school. Families are part of our community when you join Gesher, and that's the essence of who we are. We believe that children, when they have a sense of belonging, can grow tremendous roots and wings. Roots and wings, and that is all of what we are. Amy, can you take me to the next slide? And I want to tell you a little bit about the school in general. So we were founded in 1982. I believe this is our 38th year. We're the only Jewish day school in Northern Virginia. We have 141 students right now, junior kindergarten through 8th grade, although I hope that we'll grow a little bit next year. We are on a beautiful campus that we utilize for hands-on learning. So we have gardens and a vernal pond and a fire pit that is mostly used as a meeting space. But this year it's come in handy in that we're really using our campus for outdoor spaces as well. As we have 4 tents set up. Students are spending time outside a lot, which has been wonderful. We have bus transportation, and we recently changed our bus company towards a more professionalized service. Our students come from all over Northern Virginia, and they also represent the diversity of the Jewish community as well. So we have students who are coming from every Jewish background. We are a community school. We're non-denominational. We're very proud of being non-denominational. And really to think about what is it, how can we cultivate Judaism and Jewish pride and Jewish joy within our children? And it's something that we just love. Our mission and values is really around menschiness, being safe, respectful, responsible, and also really thinking about how to cultivate learning and even readiness, academic readiness, but also knowing that how children treat each other, how they talk to each other, how they talk to us, other human beings, how they think about notions like tzedakah and chesed are phenomenal. Tikkun olam are really what Gesher is all about. So all of that is a part of who Gesher is. And I think, am I handing it back to you, Amy, or am I giving it to Jody at this point? I can't remember, I apologize.
It is going over to Jody to talk a little bit, do a little bit of a deeper dive into our academic program.
Great, wonderful, thank you.
Thank you, Aviva, for that. And actually, Aviva, that leads me right into where we are on the educational side at Gesher. I think we do work really, really hard in cultivating and building that community. And that is really evident from when you start the day and when you go home every day. Not only at carpool line, but when the kids walk into their classrooms, the way they're greeted by their teachers, and the way we begin and end each day. So all of our days, we have a formal general studies and Jewish studies education, as well as Hebrew component, and a lot of different learning within the day. We like to start every single morning doing something as a class together. Typically, it's either tefillah or our morning meeting. But that really sort of sets the tone for the day, and it's a really strong hallmark of our community that we start our day each day greeting everybody all the way through 8th grade. And that starts all the way with our Gan Katan kids as well. And so really the kids know how to say hello to each other. We practice it not only on the curb, but when we walk into our classrooms each and every day. And then there's a more formal academic curriculum that is built sort of on strong foundations, really to give kids skills, but also to think a lot about how we can really integrate those skills into what are our goals, what are we growing our children into, and what skills do we want our children to have so that tomorrow they are the leaders in our community. And so we have a math and a reading and a writing and a regular general studies curriculum, but it's really built on the whole child. It's built around meeting the children where they are. It's built around differentiation, and it's built around building the skills that the kids need from grade to grade, and so that they're not only meeting those benchmarks, but also learning and building throughout the day. So We have our formal general studies education that you would typically find in a school, but that is really well thought out and well integrated throughout the day, so that we can also have ample time to make it to our Jewish studies and our Hebrew. And so we do a lot of thoughtful crossover in terms of our thinking about units. So if they're doing a unit, I'll give an example, but if they're doing a unit around animals in English, they might be doing research. They may also in Hebrew partner with an animals unit in Hebrew and learn the animals in Hebrew. And so there's a lot of thoughtfulness about using our time wisely. The same with if they're doing in science, they might be doing rocks at the same time that they're learning about Virginia regions and learning about the rocks and the parts that make up our regions. And so I think there's a lot of thoughtfulness about how we can still in a day from 8:30 in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon, fit it all in and incorporate a strong Hebrew curriculum, a strong general studies curriculum, and also give our kids foundations in Jewish values and in Jewish holidays and in Jewish life, and also in learning text as they get older. You know, they learn more orally when they're younger, and then as we start to learn letters and we read in Hebrew, they start to actually do a close read of a text in Hebrew, just like we would teach them to read a text in English class. And so there's a lot of thinking about skills and how we use them and build our skills both in English and Judaic studies, so that when we graduate our students in 8th grade, they are not only Jewishly knowledgeable, but they are global citizens and real leaders, and have strong skills, so that as they enter high school, they sort of have a better foundation of who they are, so they can really grow themselves. We also at Gesher this year have thought a lot about those things we needed to do in order to go brick to click, in order to move from in-classroom learning, and then should we need to at-home learning. I'm very fortunate to tell you actually that we've really had to do very little of that for pods. We have spent a total of having to move 2 pods out for 2 days and then back into school. But for the most part, all of our learning, we've been able to keep our kids in school. We've had to quarantine individual families. And so we've made modifications in our classrooms so that if we have to move a student online so they can continue learning with their class in the older grades, they can. We've done some asynchronous learning with younger kids to keep their skills on par if they're out. We, however, have been very fortunate because of the classroom modifications we've made. All of our students you can sort of see in the picture, it's unnatural for us to not have kids bunched up and in groups, but they are spread out for 6 feet apart for safety reasons. And we are eating lunch this year in the classrooms rather than in the cafeteria to really be thoughtful and mindful about how we're using our space. And then we've set up 4 outdoor tents and a lot of outdoor classroom space. And our kids bring beach chairs to school. So should we be able to go outside and the weather is nice, we spend a lot of time learning outside in our beach chairs. It often looks like a little bit like a workplace. You'll walk into a classroom and the kids have their beach chairs spread all out with their Chromebooks in their laps. But it really, truly, it's adapted the way we learn a little bit. But by having made modifications with things like beach chairs, we can also have cozy corners and other things, so we didn't totally lose the culture and the feel of what we believe about learning, and we believe about kids connecting, and we believe about the way kids learn. And the last piece I want to share with everyone is some of the real hallmarks of Gesher. Gesher really prides itself on being a community school. We pride ourselves on our kids, honest to God, not only our teachers knowing everybody's name, but our kids knowing each other and really being a part of the community. We have a buddy program that our 5th graders buddy up with our kindergartners, and that sort of carries all the way through until they're in 8th grade. They watch their 8th grade buddies go to Israel, and our 4th graders will buddy with our preschool kids. And there's really a lot of connections that are made across the school. And so we've gotten super creative in COVID to ensure we can keep that in place. But we do things on Fridays, like Everybody Get Caught Wearing Purple, where we give tzedakah on Fridays, and that's done across the school. We also have been very fortunate that we have a great Israeli dance program, a recruit program, and that has been a great way we can still have fun and laugh outside and make some noise as a community with our Israeli dance teacher. And then in order to still connect parents right now, actually often you'll see parents sort of out of the cars at carpool with masks on, chit-chatting, but we've also created time outdoors for parents to have parent noshes. There was a Havdalah evening, one evening for families outside as well, so that even if parents can't come in our building, we really feel it's important to connect our parents. And we've had a bunch of classes also do Zoom happy hours with parents. And our favorite is both Thursday mornings and Friday afternoons. We have our school Torah service and our school Kabbalat Shabbat. And so we really use that time as a community to connect, to spend time together. We often will celebrate kids' bar bat mitzvahs, and the kids also on Friday afternoons share their highlights of the week with each other. So all of that moved to Zoom this year. We still are connecting all the classes. We Zoom in together, so we can still keep those traditions. But there are really, truly pieces of Gesher that make us, that really make us special in the way we connect our community. And the last piece is that we have both a PTO and a student council that really work hard to get the fun into Gesher. But we have our holiday celebrations, so the PTO will often help us out, and our student council will often do things like food drives or spirit days to really just connect us across the building. And so that's sort of what makes, I think, us really special, is that we really work hard to connect kids, families, and teachers with each other, so that it's not just that your kid comes to school every day to learn, but that your kid comes to school every day to be part of the community.
Thank you so much.
Off
to me. Thank you so much, Jody, for telling us all about that. I'm going to pause now before I get into sort of the nitty-gritty logistics of the admissions process. Does anybody have any questions for Aviva or Jody or Rabbi Sachs as a current parent, or Jen as a current first grade parent? Feel free to just unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, this is Brian. I have a few questions. Can you hear me okay? So I just want to back up a lot first. I don't know who this question is for. It might even be for Rainey. I just want to fill some holes that I had. So myself, and I know a few other parents, Rainey, we had asked you if the Temple was thinking about having a first grade class. And then I think a week later, we got that email with the Temple and Gesher combined. So is there any, I mean, my thought was maybe there was something happening with the Temple and Gesher, and the Temple was trying to open a first grade class at the Temple and work with Gesher there, but I guess that's not the case. And Rainey, you are just basically introducing us to Gesher, right? Simple as that.
Brian, at this time, the Temple, we're not, it's not on the table to open up a first grade class. So
okay.
With Gesher, they had reached out to us around the same time. And, I thought it would be a great opportunity, because I know that there's a bus that leaves from the Temple, or right now it's Haycock, I believe. But in the past, it's been from the Temple. And, it makes it really convenient for the families to just come right to the Temple and, get on the bus and go to Gesher. But, this is our first year doing the kindergarten program. And we had decided actually to do the kindergarten program prior to COVID. And then once COVID hit, as with your it took off. And, I think that, we just want to keep it with the kindergarten program at this time. It's a huge learning curve for us, and we want to just keep with doing what we know really well. So,
so this is the first year. I don't know if this is a partnership or relationship or how you guys are working together, but prior to this year, And this is the first year that you're introducing parents to Gesher, is that?
In a formal way.
Okay.
I've always recommended Gesher. Just on a side note, since we didn't have kindergarten in the past, but like I said, they reached out to us because I think the fact that they had heard that we had a kindergarten program and that we do not have a first grade program. So we thought it would be a really good, just a referral system to continue the Jewish education, because they are the only day school in the area. And not only are they the only day school in the area, they have an incredible campus. I've visited a couple times and I've been incredibly impressed with the with their program. So
Okay.
Let me just add real quick. First of all, the bus is really incredibly convenient. It is at Haycock right now, but I think that's really just because of the construction. So, it's a TRS parking lot thing, and it is amazing. And just to be clear, we've always recommended Gesher. Gesher is the Jewish day school of Northern Virginia. We've always wanted to connect families to Gesher, and we've had many programs when they have come. It might not have been for the last couple of years, but both because it's an amazing place and just because we feel like we have a responsibility to be part of that enterprise to educate kids Jewishly for any families that want to do that.
And
Okay.
I just want to jump in and thank you, Rini, for your kind words, and Rabbi Sachs. One of the thoughts that came into our mind, I'm glad you mentioned the bus stop in the Rhoda parking lot, is the convenience. You can drop off your other kids at TRS nursery school and put your older kids on the bus. Like we want your family to be part of the RODEF and the RODEF ECC community for as long as you want to be there and as long as you're able to be there. We just want to be there after. It's really, really what we're trying to say. Like literally, we want to, I don't want to say stand on your shoulders, that makes it sound wrong, but you guys are doing a fabulous job. You have made a wonderful choice for your children. We just want to give you the opportunity to sort of carry that forward.
Can I just add a question to that? And then Brian, it's just about the bus stop. That it didn't even occur to me, drop off my little one there and drop off Aiden there as well. But how does the timing work? Because if school starts at 8:30 and I know you can do.
The timing would definitely be different. The drop off for the kids for Gesher right now is 7:30. So you wouldn't be able to do it in one trip.
Oh, okay. So then are there any other bus stops? Like I live in Arlington.
Yes. So we do have bus stops. We mainly try to place bus stops near congregations. So the Arlington congregation that we currently have a bus stop at is Eitz Chaim. We also have a bus stop at Agudas Achim and at Bethel Alexandria. That's currently an afternoon stop, but I think we could very easily add that in the morning. We have a couple of stops that are not specifically tied to congregations. The JCC, the Poses JCC in Fairfax. We have a stop on Moorfield Circle in Vienna. We have a route that goes west out towards Herndon and Sterling. And we are looking very, very seriously at the possibility of adding a stop in Springfield, potentially as well. The great news about our new bus company is that they are super flexible and they really want to work with us. So if we say we need a new stop and we need it here, they're going to help us build that in. It really just comes down to where there is critical mass. And what we say is we need 4 students to be able to open a new bus stop. So if there's 4 families that are all clumped in a similar area, then I am more than happy to engage with you in that conversation to get a bus stop.
I'm also willing, Lisa,
Three of them right here that are close to each other.
Yeah, Lisa, I'm also, I didn't realize about the bus, what time the bus leaves. And, a lot will depend on what's going on next year with COVID. but I'm sure that we would be able to do an early morning drop off at 7:30 instead of 8. So just to open that up a little bit, I'm flexible in terms of opening that discussion up in the future.
Thank you, Rini. Any other questions? All
I have
right,
one more, but
oh, go ahead, Brian, please.
well, I wanted to see if any other parents had any before I.
I'll go, Brian, so it
Okay,
doesn't look like
yeah.
you're hogging the whole time. So I noticed there's a number of parents here from the kindergarten class or kindergarten age. So I think a lot of us are looking at the first grade. So in terms of kind of open slots, I mean, are there a limited number? Do you feel like, I mean, is it kind of like a lottery system, you think, for starting first grade, or can you just
I'm so glad you asked that question. So we are equally blessed to have a full kindergarten this year, but we recognize that it is, in order to fulfill our mission, which is to serve and educate the Jewish children of Northern Virginia, we need to be able to grow. So what we are looking at is actually opening a second section of first grade for next year. That is going to be based on interest. We can't do it unless the numbers are there, but it is our hope, particularly with the interest from this program. This is certainly really exciting for us to have so many families joining us this evening, that we will have sufficient interest to be able to create a second section of first grade. That's our plan. Now, I should couch that by saying, if the flip side to that is if we do not have enough interest, then it would become a bit of a lottery. Again, that is not my hope. My hope and my intention is to open a second section. I'm looking to all of my fellow leadership. We're all nodding our heads like that is our plan. But the contingency, should we not have the numbers to support that, is we would have to cap it.
Amy, how many children do you have in your first grade classrooms?
Currently, we have 17 children in our first grade class. And that class is co-led by two teachers, a team of two teachers, Mrs. Denise Moldover, who is our general studies teacher, and Mora Sarit Joban Spector, who is our Hebrew and Judaic studies teacher.
We're doing a lot of thinking already. So what the numbers would have to be, what our retention would have to be, but we're also thinking about how to create an equal experience if we have to do two sections, so that we're using the same curricula, perhaps even the same teachers, and having them flip back and forth. So we're fairly advanced in our conversations about how to make it work, moving from one section to two for first grade, because we would love to make, I can't believe no one has used this joke yet, how to create the bridge between Rodef and Gesher, which obviously Gesher means bridge in Hebrew. So how to create a bridge between our two schools.
Good one, Aviva.
Correct. We've also done two sections in the past. It's just because of COVID that we're sort of really being careful about how to admit in a careful way to ensure that we can keep the safety as part of the big picture.
And Jody, you guys are right now, maybe it's too early, but you're planning two paths, really. You're planning a COVID path and a non-COVID path, or okay.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, we have to plan for the worst and hope for the best. Yeah.
And I think one of the reasons, been reflecting a lot about this, one of the reasons I think we've been so successful is the community and the sense of Jewish community that Kol Rivim's, that we're all responsible for one another within this community. And that has been a really strong sense. We've had a lot of transparency within our parent community. We really feel partnership with our families, and all of that has led to really great outcomes so far. Like Jody said, we've had to ask certain families to stay home for certain amounts of time, but overall we have not had to close the school, and really only 2 classrooms for a couple of days. So we've been doing very, very well. And the kids, I'm sure you've experienced this in your own kindergarten, the kids really are better than a lot of adults with masks and hand washing and the COVID protocols. They're doing wonderfully.
So much better.
So tagging onto that question of a COVID path and a non-COVID path, if there's 17 children in the COVID path, is there 17 children in the non-COVID path, or does it go up in numbers?
It would
So
be as
I think I think the capacity that we have talked about in the past is we wouldn't go over 21 or 22 in a class. That would just be too large. So once we start getting to that 21, 22 number, then we are looking at creating 2 sections again. So it's kind of 6 in one, half dozen the other. In the interest of full transparency, the way we are looking to open a second section is it will probably be a smaller section just because of the available spaces within the building. So we'll probably have one larger class and one smaller class. And you know, those we can group them any number of different ways. Obviously, we want to give all of the children the best social experience. So it wouldn't be our intention to only put the TRS kids in one group and everybody else in the other group. You know, we want to intermix and mingle them, but we can also look at, you know, what kids maybe would thrive better in a smaller setting versus being in a little bit of a larger setting.
Ted, were you done with your piece?
Yeah, I'm done.
And Katie, anyone else? So in terms of a path for the child, I'm a public school kid, right? So I'm not familiar with private schools too much. So do most kids go from K to 8, and do some kids, you know, transition after 5? And why is there no 9 through 12 in your school and most private schools? Just all those questions. Yeah.
So it's certainly our hope that they will go from first grade on through 8th. Obviously, that's our intention. Of course, there is transitions and there is attrition, and the reasons vary significantly from between families. So as Rabbi Sachs talked about, it could be a proximity factor, it could be a cost factor. You know, there's any number of reasons that families leave. We've been very fortunate that some of those families have actually come back. They've, you know, sometimes the grass is greener, and sometimes you have to leave in order to maybe see some of the things that that we do really well. But we do see students coming in and leaving at different points, and we make sure that we align our standards of learning with the state of Virginia, so that if students do come in or come out at different points, they're going to be fairly on par with where their peers in the public school or another private school would be. As for why there's no 9th through 12th grade, getting a high school accredited and being able to offer credit-bearing classes for college, like college preparatory classes, is a whole nother beast. My last school was a K to 12 school, and we had sister programs that were K to 8. And everybody said, like, oh my gosh, you guys can keep the 9th through 12th grade. It is such a headache. It is such a hassle. You know, as Rini said, we know what we do really well, and we also don't want to overextend ourselves. Plus, while we have a very spacious 28-acre campus, I don't know where we would put 9th through 12th grade. So while it has been something that a number of families have asked us about over the years, we bridge families over to Charles E. Smith Jewish Day School, which is the Jewish Day School in Rockville, Maryland, and they have a 9th through 12th grade program. So you can go K to 12th grade in Jewish education, but you can only go through 8th grade. The train stops at 8th grade and for Gesher.
And in Virginia, I guess, right? There's no closer.
They do offer busing.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's the only thing I would add to that is that Amy, I'm thinking about my son in the 5th grade, just to give a sort of sampling. That class has been together in in almost whole since kindergarten. So it's a good sort of example of a class that has really, they're a class of 18 currently, but they really stayed pretty whole for most of, they've lost one or two who's moved away, and they still keep in touch. That's how close they become. But those kids are almost like brothers and sisters. There are days that I really have to remind my son that his very close classmates are, not all kids have that experience with their classmates, and they really do take care of and love each other. And so I imagine a class like that, many of them will probably stay through 8th grade. And we've sort of seen classes that really build as a whole and build as good units, often grow and build together. So I think it goes, different families do different things over the years, but the truth is many, if they really have built that foundation of community, often stay because they want to graduate with their friends.
I will say my professional experience before Gesher was in high schools. So Amy, if we decide down the line that we want to open a high school, we can do it. But right now I think that, we've been really, enrollment in the past has been a concern, and it was a natural exit point at 8th grade for Gesher. And maybe that will change in the future. And we have certainly sent families to other private schools, to public schools, and to Charles E. Smith. And our biggest concern, our biggest factor is that we want to create lifelong Jewish learners and lifelong active Jews. And we think that there are a number of ways to do that. But having an education through 8th grade is a phenomenal foundation for a Jewish education.
8th grade graduation must be a sob fest, right? Is that?
It is, and we made it happen
Okay.
here. It was incredibly intimate. Sounds like the wrong word, but it felt like a family, right? Like the siblings all knew each other, the parents all knew each other, the kids treat each other like siblings. They still get together. It's a really beautiful thing to see.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I grew up in a school that was not, I had 19 kids in my graduating class from high school. So, and I'm still in touch with those classmates. It does feel like a family by the end.
And I'll sort of share a little bit of my own sort of unique journey as well. I went to public school, like just so everybody should know, right? Like I was not, I grew up in Cleveland. You were Jewish by osmosis. So it was a very different experience. And my husband grew up in West Virginia. And, he used to tell me, many, many years ago when we had just babies, I don't really understand day school. Like I grew up in West Virginia and turned out a rocket scientist, literally, like that's what he is. And he said, I went to one of arguably the lowest performing public schools in the country. So he actually really needed to be sold on the day school concept. And this was long before I was working at Gesher. And what he says now when he looks back, he says, wow, our children's Jewish experience is so nothing like my Jewish experience, right? Like his frustration that he had even from his memories of Hebrew school, or his experience of, he grew up in West Virginia, like you stepped out of synagogue, you took your kippah off. He had a very different relationship. And it wasn't really until college that he had the opportunity to develop his bond to Jewish community and Jewish life. And what's really beautiful is here we have children who are just completely comfortable with who they are on an everyday basis. And when they grow up and they go out of Gesher's little comfort zone, they're so anchored in who they are that they thrive in diverse environments, no matter where you put them, whether it's high school or college or the professional world. They're so much more able to appreciate the diversity of the world because they're so anchored in who they are as individuals.
Thank you so much, Jen and Aviva and Jody, for sharing your experiences. I am going to go ahead and move us back towards the program. So I'm going to share my screen once more and talk about the steps to Gesher. So pat yourselves on the back. You've earned a big old check mark by the number 1. You are here attending our information session. While I would love nothing more than to welcome you onto our campus for an in-person tour, alas, it is not something I am able to do right now, but I will be following up this program tomorrow with an email with sort of next steps, and I will include in that our virtual tour link. It's not quite as good as being here, but it's something. So you can get a chance to see inside our campus and our grounds. And then the next step from there is to go ahead and submit your application online. We make it really easy. You just type everything in. We do have a $125 application fee that will go in with your application. And then from there, we will schedule a virtual visit with members of the Gesher faculty. More than likely, it'll be Mrs. Moldover and Maura Sarit, since they are the current first grade team. And they just want to get to know the kids. They want to get to know what they're like, maybe spot check some skills, but really it's all about getting to know their personalities and answering their questions, because kids have questions of their own, and especially if they've been at RODF since they were little, it might be all they remember, and the idea of moving to a big school can be daunting. So we want to be able to make that transition as comfortable as possible. I will also be setting up times during that time for families that have applied to actually come in and see the building. We will be doing that most likely on Sundays, so that we can do it when there's no faculty on campus. We will follow COVID protocols and have everybody wearing masks and do a health questionnaire. But we want you to be able to set foot on campus before you make a commitment to our school. Then we will go ahead and offer enrollment contracts, and then you register, and see you in the fall. We're planning some fun events for the spring and summer. Some virtual, hopefully, fingers crossed, some in person, so that the families can get to know each other a little bit better. Kids can start to get comfortable with their new big school, and we'll just go from there. So the last piece I want to talk about is always the elephant in the room, and it's finances, tuition. So our tuition rates for the upcoming 2021-2022 school year are not yet published. They are finalized. We are putting the final touches on the communication to our families, and we'll have that information out before winter break. And so that will go live on our website shortly thereafter. But we went ahead and posted the 2020-2021 rates for your reference. And as a rule of thumb, rates increase anywhere between 5 to 7% year over year. So you can do the calculation and get a rough estimate of what to expect. We do offer confidential need-based tuition assistance based on families' documented and demonstrated need. So to calculate that and verify, we use a third-party system called FACS, and you would submit a second application, a separate application for confidential need-based tuition assistance. And that we look at a lot of different factors. We look at income, we look at assets, we look at expenses, we look at liabilities, and they run it through an algorithm, and it basically it will come up with a calculation of what a family's ability to pay. And the goal of our need-based tuition assistance is to bridge the gap between what a family is able to pay and the full cost of tuition. So our goal is to make a Gesher education accessible to any family that wants it. And certainly, if you have any questions about tuition assistance, you are more than welcome to either direct them to myself or to Jen Scher. She is the liaison to the confidential financial aid tuition assistance committee. So we actually have a third party. We scrub all of the information so that All they're getting is numbers and narratives without personal identifiable information. And they're the ones who are approving the calculations on the awards. And that's it, folks. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it back over to questions. If anybody has any questions about the admissions process. I'll stop sharing as well. All right. Any other questions about the
Just the
admissions
dates,
process?
maybe?
What?
Like dates for application or?
Great question. So we have a best consideration deadline of December 31st. And that best consideration deadline means that you will receive an answer by March 1st. So what we will be doing is taking every application that comes in by December 31st, scheduling those virtual visits and the family meetings during the month of January and February, and being able to offer admissions decisions no later than March 1st. Any families that we will continue to have rolling admissions for families who miss that December 31st deadline. But as I said, we're hoping that most families that intend to act will do so by December 31st, so that we will be able to move forward in our decision making. I'm getting some notice that people are having trouble hearing me. Can you hear me? Thumbs up? Okay, sorry. Once that we receive that March 1st answer, when is a contract given and when do you have to sign the contract? Like when is how much leeway time do you have to make that decision? We generally will ask for a decision within 2 weeks. We'll only hold your space for 2 weeks after the contract is offered. Oh my gosh.
I'm going to say it, Amy.
Thank you.
We're going to hold your space. We'll guarantee your space for 2 weeks, but really be in touch with Amy if you need a little bit more time, or with Jen, or with really anybody on our team, if you want to discuss those things, because we want to help families out here. Thank you, Aviva. My pleasure.
Sorry, I missed most of this, although I have my proxy. I know the application requires report cards, and at least for this last parent-teacher conference, we didn't get like an official report card or anything. So I'm assuming you'll get whatever you need from Rini in the school, but I'm wondering, just making sure that, like, is there anything else you need me to do before applying, that sort of thing?
We've had to do some unusual things during COVID because of report cards. And so I would say give us as much information as you can about your child. The goal is that for us to really get to know you and the child, and know if your child has needs or is particularly advanced or other pieces, so that we can serve kids. And so that's the most important part, is to give us as much information as possible. And so if we can't get it on an official report card, we'll take it from the teachers and from you guys as well.
I have no doubt though that Rini has information on any child. So we take care of that on the back end. It's not your responsibility. Gesher will communicate directly with the RODEF office, and they're very good about transferring any records and that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rini, too.
I'm sorry, my audio is flaking out. Are there any other questions that my team can help me answer?
What are the full hours of school day?
Great question. So our school day is 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. On Fridays during daylight savings, we dismiss earlier at 2:45 to allow families who observe Shabbos to get home and prepare for the holiday. We have in the past offered before and after care as well. It's something that we have had to discontinue because of COVID, but the hours of that program were 7:30 to 6, 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m.
On the subject of hours, I'll just add a kind of a small thing, but one little benefit that you get if you are sending your kids to religious school at Temple Road of Shalom and to Gesher for school is that while they still will go to Sunday school, they don't need to go to midweek Hebrew because they're getting plenty of Hebrew, of course, at Gesher. So when your kids, you may not know, when your kid turns 4th grade at TRS, then in addition to Sunday school, there's a weekday component, but that's not necessary if you're at Gesher.
And when it said that the school is non-denominational, what does that mean exactly?
It means we have students, Jewish students, who have all sorts of different backgrounds. So we have interfaith families, we have Orthodox students, we have conservative students, we have Reform students, we have Israeli students, we have Reconstructionist students, and we are proud of all of our families and all of our kids.
But all Jewish, all some element of Judaism.
All identify as Jewish.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody so much for the time that you've given us this evening. If you joined us late, I do have the full program recorded, but I would love to catch your names and the names of your children before you sign off, if you don't mind. I think Meredith.
Yeah.
I can answer for her.
Thanks, Brian.
It's also Mason. Female Mason.
And I know the Nisleys have Hannah because we've received her application already. Thank you so much. And then is Metadith, is that another Meredith account or is that a separate person?
I'm guessing based on the echo that it's both Meredith, but with just a
Me,
typo for a second.
I was trying to join on different phones because I was having technical problems.
Not a problem at all. Thank you. Thank you all so much again for your time. And I will be reaching out to each of you next week. I'm going to try and call tomorrow. If I don't get through it all tomorrow, I'll definitely by next week, just to follow up if you have any personal questions, any additional questions you weren't able to ask or weren't comfortable asking in this forum. But I look forward to meeting all of you and working with you and hopefully getting the opportunity to meet and work with your children. Again, thank you, Rabbi Sachs. Thank you, Rini. Thank you to the members of the Gesher team who participated tonight, and we will look forward to seeing you soon. Almost Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.